Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining our December edition of GS Live. I had to think for a second to remember what month it is because this year has simultaneously gone really fast and also really slow. I am Michaela Ahrens, the Director of Volunteer Development. I'm super excited to have all of you on with us tonight. Let's go ahead and go through our agenda. So for our December GS Live, we'll have a welcome from Diane, and then we have an awesome guest speaker, Molly, to talk about youth mental health. Then we'll go into some information about the cookie program with another great volunteer, and then we'll go into some council updates for all of you. So to get started, I am going to go ahead and welcome Diane.
Yay, thanks, Michaela. Hey, Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to jump on. Truly, truly appreciate it. It's been a crazy, crazy year. But I have to tell you, we've been doing pretty well in Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois, and it's because of volunteers like you. It's been a really tough year, but we've been working really, really hard to do everything we can to keep our girls engaged, keep our volunteers engaged. But I have to be honest with you, I think we're all really looking forward to 2021, ready to get out of this year. So I just want to jump on and wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. Tell you all how much we appreciate each and every one of you. Looking forward to spend more time and to see you in person in 2021. And just let you know that I want to thank you for everything you do for our girls. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to all of you. And I'm going to turn it over to Mara Warner. And Mara is going to take the lead with our next part of this program. So thank you all very much. Merry Christmas. Hope to see you all very, very soon. So Mara.
Thank you, Diane. And I feel like I missed the memo. I needed antlers. I just had my headband, but thank you so much. I am actually here to welcome Molly. So Molly Schmelzer is a volunteer at Girl Scouts of Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois, but she is also a licensed psychotherapist in the Quad Cities. And she's here today to talk about mental health with children and with girls, something very, very important to us here at Girl Scouts. She has more than 15 years in the mental health field, and she primarily works with children and adolescents, so she's the perfect person to come on today and give us some information about how to support girls during a really challenging time for everyone, but especially children. So welcome, Molly.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Really quick before you jump in, I have to say you have a long list of accolades. You're a major volunteer here at Girl Scouts. I've got COSUD for 857, Troop Leader for 4309, Troop Leader for 8858. You serve on the Leader Lowdown Committee. You're a national delegate, so thank you. I thank you for everything you do for Girl Scouts.
Well, thank you very much. It's my honor.
So Molly, if you would like to open up and talk a little bit more about what you do and things that you're seeing to support kids right now during such a difficult time. And as Molly's talking, if anybody has questions, please add those to the chat log, and we will then ask her some. So if you have any specific questions about how to support kids today, just throw those in the chat and we will get the questions to her.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes, I am a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Iowa. I work primarily with children and adolescents, as you said. And I find it, I'm very passionate about children's mental health, especially this past year with everything that's been going on. We've seen such an increase and such a rise in anxiety in our children and depression in our children with all of the changes that have been going on with COVID and the schools being in session, out of session, online, back and forth. We've really been seeing a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression happening. So I've really been working with a lot of parents and a lot of even some Girl Scout volunteers and how to kind of facilitate as much normalcy as possible for these children who are having so much upheaval in their lives.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say are some things to look for? How does anxiety show up in children? What are some things to kind of watch out for your children, but also the girls in your troops?
What we typically see with anxiety is a lot of worry, a lot of what if this, what if that, fears that weren't there before, fears that maybe aren't explainable, feeling afraid but not knowing why, are sort of the classics when it comes to anxiety. But there's also a lot of things in children specifically that we wouldn't necessarily see in older adults. Irritability, anger, sadness for no apparent reason are all very common with anxiety. Academic struggles can be a sign of anxiety as well. What I'd like to tell adults is look for any change in the normal behaviors of that child, and something is going on. But really, the primary ones are the worry and the irritability that we want to look for.
Now, if a parent or a volunteer is noticing that their child or a girl in their troop is starting to worry a lot, asking a lot of what if questions, what are some suggestions you have for kind of addressing those issues and steps to help, not only if it's your child that's having these reactions, or how to bring that up to a parent of a girl that might be in a troop?
Well, I think one of the first things you want to do when you're working with a child, especially, is to normalize those feelings. You don't want somebody who's feeling anxiety to feel on the outside on top of everything else. So just being able to say, what you're feeling is normal given the situation and given the circumstances that we're experiencing. It's understandable that you're feeling this way. It's okay that you're feeling this way. And we may not have all the answers right now, but your feelings are valid. If you notice with some of your girls that you're working with that you see some of these things, anxious behaviors and this anxiety happening, and you want to talk to the parents, you want to make sure that you're not coming in across very demanding and saying, hey, this is what's going on, your child has a problem. You want to be sensitive to the parents as well, because they're probably also dealing with the same pressures and anxieties that the rest of us are. But, being very gentle and saying, I've noticed that this is going on with your daughter. It's not typical of what I've seen from her. Is there anything that's going on that we should know about? Is there anything that we can do to help? And just kind of listen to the parent as well and get a feel from them. It's very possible they know something is going on and they're already addressing it. So you want to just kind of work with the parents and support the parents in supporting that child.
Mm-hmm. I love that, hearing about how you just need to talk about how like normalizing it and coming at people with kind of compassion and understanding with any struggles that you're noticing. Are there any questions in the chat, Michaela or Claudia, before I jump into our other list of questions, if anybody from the audience has a question?
So far, we don't have any questions.
Okay. So what would be an approach or tip for working with a girl who's in your troop and maybe really shy and quiet, kind of more reserved, and in her signs of being anxious or with a group?
Mm-hmm. Yes, when you're dealing with someone who is shy or maybe has some social anxieties going on, you want to be gentle, and normalize what they're feeling as acceptable feelings. It can be very helpful just to be with that girl, meaning just sitting with them if they're pulled off to the side, and just sit with them for a few minutes and let them know that you're there. You don't necessarily have to talk about anything. Sometimes it's just the presence of an adult being there that can help give them a little more courage and subside that anxiety a little bit. Encouraging them, inviting them to come and participate. Just give us 5 minutes of your time. Just try it out, see how you like it. If it's not for you, then we can take a step back again. but just inviting for small sections, small bits of participation, anything that the step forward is going to be a benefit for that girl.
And if you're working with a child that's maybe not shy, but kind of almost on the flip side where maybe they're acting out and a little bit distracting to a troop meeting, what would be your suggestion there to help a child while working with them?
I think, we all have our standards, hey, let's all calm down together, looking at it, not just singling that child out, but as a group, hey, let's all take a couple deep breaths and calm down and refocus. But one of my favorite things to do with girls who tend to be very outgoing and maybe a little overbearing at times is to give them a responsibility, something that's just theirs to work on. Why don't you be responsible for this part of the meeting, or help us out with this task, because it gives them something to focus on so that they're not kind of out there and all over the place.
So Molly, we have a question in the same vein, but kind of the opposite direction. For how do you help or address Zoom anxiety or being on screen? So they said they're in school face to face, so trying to do Zoom kind of turns off some girls.
Right. And actually what I'm seeing a lot of is also that Zoom fatigue as well as the Zoom anxiety, where, they don't want to be on camera anymore, or they're being told not to at school all the time. So it's, either way, it's, that avoidance of camera, avoidance of participating. And really, it's about normalizing the experience as much as possible, making it as close to being in person as possible. So doing things like giving them free time to just chat with each other instead of having structured time from beginning to end. Encouraging them to have those cameras on so you can see silly faces, and do funny dances together and things like that, where it's just trying to get them to relax a little bit. If they're not comfortable with being seen, but they're okay with being heard, then, hey, let's leave your mic open so that you can talk with us. And then, again, small steps. Why don't you, turn your camera on for 5 or 10 minutes, and if it's just too much, then you can turn it off again. But, try these new things, taking one step outside of your comfort zone and giving it a try, and then pulling back if it's too much.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
What would be, now that you've been doing some Zoom troop meetings, what is a good game that kind of brings all girls together, or activity? Is there anything that's kind of a go-to for you when you're doing Zoom meetings?
I think one of the go-tos for me with my trip early on was scavenger hunts, because everybody likes to show off their stuff. And so, coming up with a crazy, wacky scavenger hunt, finding the sparkliest thing you can, or finding your favorite stuffed animal, or going finding, your ugliest pair of shoes, whatever it is, just making it completely off the cuff, but getting them excited to show off their stuff so that they start conversations between them. And that's another way to try and get that camera turned on, is why don't you show us your favorite place in your house, or show us your favorite stuffed animal so that we can share that with you. So the scavenger hunts are a really good one.
Yeah, I think that's fun even for adults. I remember on one gsLive, Michaela had us all do that, and I was like, oh, okay. This is kind of fun to go find some things, and a good way to engage with people.
Right. Some other ones, Uno is a really easy one to play on Zoom if everybody has their own Uno deck. You can play Uno together. You can do the escape rooms online, are becoming very popular right now, and a lot of trips are using those as a way to come together. But don't overestimate the value of free time to just talk. Some of the best moments with my girls have been where we were working on a project together and they were just talking. We're making Christmas cards and they're just chatting away, or we're making, a craft and they're just talking about things like they normally would in a meeting, making it as normal as you can. because you're not going to have every moment structured and every conversation structured. So giving them that free time to chat and to get the giggles out, you know, tell your favorite joke or whatever it is, but just really trying to shake it up so it's not so much like school. Because that's one of the things is there's so many expectations with Zoom and with school right now, or that they don't want another time to sit in front of the computer and be sitting there and listening and paying attention and quiet. They want to have fun, and so making it as unlike school as possible is probably one of the keys to success for a Zoom meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those are great tips. I mean, we all just kind of want to take that time on Zoom to connect with friends and meet again. So thank you so much. Would you say, as we're looking forward, we're seeing vaccines coming out and hopefully progressing back towards a more sense of like what times used to be, I guess. What are some things that you think parents and troop leaders and volunteers, anyone who works with kids, should kind of keep their eye out for looking forward?
I think it's important to be aware that we as adults are having a hard enough time kind of comprehending everything that's going on. And we have this sense of security coming. The vaccines are starting to come out, and you want to start believing that things are going to be moving forward from here. And, hopefully things are moving in this really progressive direction. But kids may not be as quick to understand that things are going to change again in a different direction. And so there may be a lot of fear and a lot of disbelief as you move, let's say we're moving back towards going to school full time. I won't be surprised to hear a lot of anxiety about going back to school, because there's been so much about, we're not going to school because it's not safe. How do we start to help them start to feel safe again? We have to understand, first of all, that they're not going to feel safe right away just because we say it's safe. So being aware of that and working gently with them to help them slowly move back into this transition of going back to whatever the new normal is going to be. So really being aware of that. It's hard enough for us to understand. So let's put our kid gloves on and put our kid goggles on and remember what it's like to be a kid and not understand everything that's going on, and just be prepared for that backlash a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And Molly, firsthand how normalcy, consistency works well for kids. How do you think Girl Scouts kind of fits into that picture of providing that consistent place for them?
I think that it's been an excellent experience for a lot of girls to have that normalcy, even if it's through Zoom instead of in person, knowing that they have meetings and they're going to get to see their troop friends and they're going to get to see their leaders is really an important part of that normalcy that we're trying to provide for them as much as possible. And so it's been a very valuable piece of that process for our girls in being able to have that piece of normal continue on. I know I've heard some groups say that their troop is taking the year off because they just don't know, how to proceed in this environment. And it kind of breaks my heart, because the one thing those girls really need is, in whatever form possible, the ability to have that connection to Girl Scouts, to their troop, to their leaders, to their friends, because that's really what is going to help base them in a sense of security and stability, is any sense of normalcy that they can have.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know I'm so appreciative for all the work that you're doing and other troop leaders are doing on this call, just to provide that space, because you're right, it's easy to try to maybe take a break in this year, but that work everyone's putting in is making a major impact for the girls who are still in troops.
Absolutely.
Michaela, Claudia, are there any other questions that you guys are seeing in the chat?
We don't have any in here. I think you guys did an awesome job covering a really wide variety and answered a lot of my questions, at least.
Yeah. Great. And Molly, do you have any other, departing words or anything before we turn it over to Marilyn?
I think the important thing to really focus on is that every girl's experience is different. And so whatever that experience is, respecting it as their normal. So if you have a girl who's dealing with being anxious or a level of depression, respecting that that's their world, and joining them in that world, not necessarily to commiserate, but to understand, it is kind of scary not knowing what's going on right now, or it is, it's okay to be sad about that and not understand what's going on, and just kind of, like I said, the normalcy, normalizing things is just really the key point here.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I learned a lot, and it just a lot of great tips for working with kids. It's so important to support their mental health and emotional and physical well-being, and make sure that they're still growing in courage, confidence, and character. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So now I'm going to turn it over to Marilyn to give some fun cookie updates.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marilyn Askelson. I'm the Director of Product Program. I will be having a conversation this evening with Jennifer Nelson. She is the Service Unit Director and Service Unit Product Manager, Troop Product Manager, and she is a member of our Volunteer Product Sales Committee. So she's got a lot of great experience selling cookies and working with product. So we're going to have a conversation tonight about just talking about tips to make your cookie program successful and to make it run smoothly. So Jennifer, one of the things that we know right now, we're starting the cookie sale. We're getting started, we're prepping, we're getting ready to go. Tell me a little bit about your family cookie meeting. What kinds of things do you talk about in your family cookie meeting? How does that go? What does that look like?
I think it's important to just explain all the employees. And I typically have a sheet that I've already filled out to hand out to my parents with what dates I want money, or what dates are we going to take orders for cookies, so I can get them more cookies. Explain to them the digital cookie process and help them set up digital cookie if they need help setting that up. And just explaining the importance of selling cookies for the girls to the parents. So sometimes the parents don't seem to understand that.
So when you talk about helping them out with digital cookie, what kinds of things do you do? Do you actually log in, or do you just kind of explain, go over it with them?
I've done both. Some parents are, computer savvy and they don't need any help figuring it all out. And then I've had it where we've just gone through step by step, setting it up for them.
And when you have that family cookie meeting, do you know, like, about how long does it take to hold a meeting and talk about the cookie program?
Probably a half hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't take very long for it. And then it all depends too on what age level you're talking to as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure meeting, you've been with the cookie program for quite a while. So you've had meetings with daisies all the way up through the older girls. So those meetings definitely look different. And I'm sure as the parents, the less experience they have selling cookies, those meetings might be a little bit longer, and they're going to look a lot different than a meeting where you've had parents that have been selling cookies for years.
Right.
What kinds of things, when you're communicating with parents, what kind of methods do you use to communicate with parents? How often do you communicate with parents throughout the sale?
I think it's good to communicate via email, text, phone calls. We kind of communicate through all those things. I know some troops that communicate with the Facebook page. They have a Facebook page set up for their troop, and that's kind of how they communicate the cookie information out to the parents. As I said, I like to give them a sheet that explains the set dates that we want certain things. This is the date I'm collecting money. This is the date that I'm going to place another order for our troop. And then that way they have that, and I can send out reminders or text messages of just say, hey, I'm at the cookie cupboard and picking up some cookies. Does anybody need anything? So
yeah, so communication is so important. So the parents know what's going on. And that just kind of leads us into the next question that I want to talk to Jennifer about, is cookie inventory. So one of the things that troop leaders might get a little nervous about going into the cookie program is, how do I decide what to order? How are the parents going to know? How do I make sure that I don't have a bunch of cookies left at the end of the sale? Jennifer, can you give us some strategies and tips that you use for controlling inventory throughout the cookie program?
Well, I actually use like the goal getter card that everybody, I don't know if everybody can see that. Everybody gets one of the goal getter cards. I actually have one of those for each of my girls. And that way I can keep track of what cookies I gave them, and I can kind of keep track of their inventory. You know, what do they have left over? Because I might have a girl that's looking for 5 tag-alongs, and I can look through and see that somebody still has a case, you know. But also with the inventory, just I like to have cookies on hand. I don't want to run to the cookie cupboard all the time for cookies. And so at the very beginning, you're going to sell the cookies. It's okay to have extra cookies. It's okay to have, you know, a little stash on hand, because as soon as those cookies come in, girls are continuing to sell, and then they're going to want more cookies. And instead of running to the cupboard or having that huge list to get from the cupboard when you do go, you can just say, okay, I have this already in my garage, you know, and hand them out. So don't be afraid to order extra cookies, because you will get rid of them, especially in the beginning. And then if you have a booth sale, then you can obviously use them for that as well.
Right. And do you guys, just as a service unit, do you have any strategies? Do you communicate as a service unit or between troops or anything like that with inventory?
We have a Facebook page set up just for the troop product managers. So then that way, if troops are looking for something, we tend to just go to that and ask, hey, does somebody have 5 lemon-ups, you know, or whatever. And or you had your booth sale, but you're stuck with these 6 packages of things or Thin Mints, and you just go in there, this is what I have left over from my booth sale, does anybody need anything? So then that way people can just come over to your house, you can meet them somewhere, and transfer cookies that way to help other leaders get rid of their cookies. Do that especially at the end of the sale, to try to help people get rid of cookies if the troop does have extras from their booth sales. And a lot of us know each other though, because we're in a small town. So, I mean, we do a lot of phone calling or run into each other at the grocery store and hey, do you need something? So, but I think as a service unit, any service unit, if you have your troop product managers have that Facebook page, I think that's a great tool to be able to help check your inventory with each other.
Yeah, and I think most service units do communicate via Facebook and other forms of social media. And then we do have the tool on eBuddy. It's called the Cookie Exchange. So if your service unit doesn't have any form of communication with each other, and you still have some cookies to get rid of, you can definitely jump on that Cookie Exchange on eBuddy. And you can advertise any cookies that you might need, or you can check in there and see if there's somebody that you can help out as far as picking up some extra cookies. So good strategies. Jennifer, so you talked about digital cookie. Do your girls use different methods of selling besides just taking orders and digital cookie?
We do booth sales, and I know my daughter, we would go around neighborhoods and knock on doors, you know, and just go door to door selling. We did have a couple troops last year take like a wagon full of cookies, and then as a troop canvass the neighborhood together. And they did that probably 3 or 4 times instead of having a booth sale, because they didn't have, you know, as a weekend that they wanted to give up to sell cookies for at a booth. So they just canvassed neighborhoods, and that was very successful for them. I've had a couple of girls do lemonade type stands which I know that we're talking a lot about this year for girls to be able to do. So that way they're not going to booths and to try to keep that distance, and setting up a lemonade stand in their front yard and just kind of having their table set up in their yard and selling cookies for those that are driving by or walking past.
Yeah, those are all great strategies. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say this has been awesome information so far, but we do have a few questions in the question log for you both. The
Okay,
first
sure.
one is, are troops allowed to advertise about cookies on their vehicle windows?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. They can put up magnets. We've got great cookie, all kinds of supplies in our shops that you can check out. Sometimes I've been known to have cookie magnets on my car, advertising that the cookie sales in hand.
Awesome. And then another one is, this leader has heard the term virtual cookie booth. What would that look like this year? Do you have any ideas for that?
I can answer that. Jennifer, did you have anything at all you wanted to share with the virtual cookie booth or the?
No, because I'm not sure. You know more about that.
A virtual cookie booth can be done in a lot of different ways. We actually have a great guide on our website from Little Brownie Bakers with virtual booth sales. So an example of a virtual booth sale would be possibly getting into Facebook and setting up an event in Facebook and inviting customers to join you for a couple of hours and ordering cookies. You know, you could post a link on that event for customers to actually jump in and order cookies. And then you could possibly set up a time, you know, maybe this is a Friday night. Maybe you could say, okay, tomorrow we'll be at the United Methodist Church from 5 until 8. We'll have your cookie orders ready to go. They'll be bagged up with your name on it. You can stop by, drive through, and we'll just, you know, give you your cookies right into your trunk, you know, and do a contactless pickup. So that's one example of a virtual booth sale. We are just having that contact with customers just online instead of actually being at a booth sale, and then they get to pick those cookies up in a contactless way. So like I mentioned, there's booth sale guides for virtual booths, for drive-through booths. Jennifer had mentioned a lemonade stand, which is kind of like a drive-through type booth for just an individual girl. So lots of great tips and materials that you'll be able to find on eBuddy and on our website.
Awesome. We will go ahead and put the link to that into the chat for everyone to see. And just a couple more questions. What do you do to keep the girls motivated to keep selling?
That's a good question. I think just being excited. If the troop leader's excited about selling the cookies, some even if the parents are not that excited about it, it can still spark interest in the girls, and the girls will be excited and want to sell more. I think excitement, talking about it a lot. What are we going to do with that money whenever we've earned that money as a troop? What are the awards that they want to earn, you know, and have them excited about, they want to earn the little plush horse, or they want to earn, you know, certain prizes and do certain things for a troop.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I was going to mention too, Digital Cookie has some great tools where the girls can kind of track each other's progress and see what's going on and give each other little pushes of encouragement and things like that too, which are some neat tools that the girls can actively encourage each other.
Awesome. And then just going back to the virtual cookie booths, those would still be different than posting about them in Facebook Marketplace, correct?
Correct. Facebook, any kind of marketplace, Craigslist, eBay, Amazon, those are actually not allowed. But this year, the actual rule for selling on social media has been adjusted a little bit from last year. You can actually post your link for friends, family, and community sites now, safe community sites, maybe like a church site or neighborhood or community site. So those are fine. But yeah, just the marketplace, those resale sites are not considered as a safe place for girls to be selling cookies.
Perfect. And then what about in-person cookie booths? Or can we still do those this year?
You absolutely can. And again, we do have a guide on our website with some tips to be able to have a in-person booth sale, even within the COVID environment, and following tips and strategies to be able to stay safe. And again, as far as the materials we have available, in eBuddy, there's lots of signs and materials and things. They even have those little signs that you can put on the ground for social distancing, 6 feet, you know, things like that. So there's lots of great bits of information you can find on our website.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Back to you. Those are all the questions we've got in the log so far.
All right. So I think that was all I had, actually, as far as questions. Jennifer, did you want to add anything here at the end?
I just think convincing parents to do get digital cookie, because there's still a lot of parents out there that don't do it. It's super easy. It's super easy to keep track of. And I just really encourage your parents to go in and do digital cookie. And also, the only thing with the cookie booths, one thing that has always helped our troop is that we don't always say, would you like to buy, you know, a box of cookies? It's, would you like to buy some cookies? And that way, typically they'll buy more than one box. And then we always add, would you make a donation? Because they might not want to buy the cookies, but then they hear you or make a donation, and then they might buy cookies for the Care to Share program for your troop.
Great tips. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining me with our conversation. I think it was really, really helpful. If anybody has any questions, you can definitely type them in the chat or get them to Michaela or myself so we can make sure that they get answered.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I think we are going to introduce Claudia to go ahead and tell us about some upcoming information and wrap up.
Hello, everyone. Hope you had an educational time this evening. Thanks to Molly and Mara for getting on and talking about how we can make our youth feel more comfortable in this crazy time. And thanks to Jennifer and Marilyn for their part in getting us excited about cookies. So I'm not going to go over those cookie dates with you that's on the screen. We all kind of are getting geared for that. We've got our cookie connections. We're ready to go. I do want you, though, to mark your calendar for those virtual cookie rallies on January 16th. With the program department having a hand in this, you know it is going to be fun. So get that on your calendar. We were also going to be hosting another new leader webinar for leaders that have joined after our last webinar in October or didn't have a chance to go. So if you know someone who has come on as new, let them know about this webinar. It's very relaxed and they can have their questions answered, and we can just have some fun. They can go to the events calendar to register. It's all on our website there. Registration for summer camp is opening on February 1st at 6 a.m. So remember, typically many sessions fill up on the very first day of registration. And because we are limiting capacities due to COVID-19, we highly recommend parents are ready to sign up in those first few hours of registration and have those alternative sessions ready as well. The 2021 Camp Guide will be available mid-January for girls and their parents to review and select sessions. And speaking about camp, Stacy Conforti will be on gsLive next month and will introduce our new camp director, Rachel Eisenman. Her start date is January 6, 2021, and we look forward to meeting her and introducing her to you. In this season of giving, consider giving the gift of Girl Scouts. Just recently, I purchased one in honor of a Girl Scout friend's birthday. It made her day. So think about, a little something different like that. We've opened up more dates for hosting troop meetings at our offices and at Camp Liberty and at Camp Little Cloud. So if troops want to have some in-person time and they're close to any of those the offices, this is an option for you. Our website has all the information you need on how to reserve a spot. Lastly, we are also still offering Zoom licenses to troop leaders and service units at a much reduced price. So far, we have 55 Zoom licenses that have been purchased for Girl Scout use. Isn't that amazing? I would be remiss if I didn't mention that recognition deadline is February 1st. Please think about your Girl Scout circle of friends and consider nominating one of them for our many awards. Our website has a description of the offered awards, or you can contact me and I can help you with the process. Door prizes this evening. A little something different. We're going to have 2 mystery door prizes for tonight. I have to tell you, I am totally stealing this from our staff advisory committee who put on a virtual staff holiday party today. So you'll be getting a surprise in the mail. You don't know what it is right now. And we'll get it out as, you know, within a day or two. So be looking forward to it. That's all I have for tonight. We hope that you felt informed, and we will give you the winners, and then we will have you join us again next time. So winners, I've already did my finagling to find 2 people here, and the winners are Elizabeth O'Daniel, and the second is Terry Fritcher. So congratulations to you 2, and your mystery door prize will be coming soon. Thanks again for coming tonight. We'll see you soon. Have a nice holiday.